The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning and good afternoon. This is Brad Spates with Guide Technologies. Thank you for signing up and attending our SystemLink Toolkit update session. Today I have Dan Miller and Randy Kenny will be doing the presentations. For those of you that have SystemLink Toolkit, this should be a good refresher with some of the new capabilities and functions. And for those of you that don't, it'll be a great introduction to what the toolkit can do for you in your IT department. So with that, I will have Randy start us off.
All right, very good. Thanks, Brad. Yeah, I've just got a few slides here. Then we're going to get into a product demo with Dan and go through some of the newer functions and features that we've added. So my name's Randy Kenny. I'm consulting manager as well as Guide product manager here at Guide. Dan Miller is one of our senior technical consultants. He's also the principal architect, designer, developer, everything SystemLink Toolkit related. So he'll be going through the demo portion of it. Just got a few slides on the SystemLink itself and the toolkit and some of the benefits, and then we'll get right into the meat of it with the product demo. And this being a webinar, it's not really conducive to Q&A or being interactive, but certainly use the chat box if you have any questions throughout here. We'll save some time at the end to address those. And certainly any kind of follow-up, or if you want a personalized demo that we can do that's much more interactive, we can certainly schedule that outside of this webinar. So SystemLink itself, you probably may or may not know, but it is one of the three legs of the integrator stool, if you will. You've got PowerLink, which is your client server GUI interface. You've got NetLink, which is your browser-based interface. And then you've got SystemLink, and SystemLink allows other applications outside of XA to interact with the XA database. And it's basically the same edits, same business logic, just as if you were hand keying data in via PowerLink or NetLink. It's the same edit that occur, including any custom edits that if you've built anything within integrator, SystemLink will respect and enforce those rules as well. All the XA security rules are enforced, all the maintenance history is preserved. So again, it's just as if you were sitting in front of a terminal keying the data in. The same thing you can do through SystemLink via outside programs, whether it be web platforms or Excel data, spreadsheets or anything like that. So it's a very powerful tool in and of itself. The problem is that you really have to know how to manage the SystemLink request. So you send it a request via XML, it then does its thing and then sends back an XML response. And you have to have something to manage building that request and getting that response back and parsing out what it sends you and look for any errors. And that's really what the SystemLink Toolkit does. I refer to it as like a management console, if you will, for using SystemLink. So any kind of SystemLink interaction with XA, the toolkit will help you manage that. Especially if you're a traditional RPG type shop, not a lot of RPG developers know XML. So with the toolkit, you don't need any XML knowledge. It'll handle building that request and sending it to SystemLink and getting the response back and parsing it out. So we can also do things within the toolkit, like grouping logical objects and send it as one request. So think of a customer order and all the related line items and other things related to that, or a purchase order or manufacturing order. You don't want to get half of it into the system. So it'll take it all, group it together in one request, send it to SystemLink, and if there's any errors, it'll back the whole thing out, so you don't get half of an order or something in the system. We can also process very large numbers of transactions using data queues on the iSeries. We have customers that process literally hundreds of thousands of EDI transactions a day, and by using data queues, we can make that much more efficient from a processing timeline standpoint. Error management, you'll see some of this when Dan goes through the demo, but it's very easy to see when there are errors via PowerLink, and and even the users can then see what the error is, go fix the underlying data, and resubmit the job by themselves. Offline loads, as you probably know, are really not even supported by Infor today, and they keep promising that they're going to get rid of them altogether. So with the toolkit, and they'll tell you, use SystemLink. That's the method you want to use to get data into XA. So we have an add-on module within the toolkit that will basically allow you to use SystemLink for any of your offline loads that you're doing today. So when and if Infor takes them away, you wouldn't even note that they took it away. So that's an option too if you do a lot of offline load processing. So like I said, you don't need to know XML. You only need to, basically deal with the data. And if you're using Excel spreadsheets, it really comes down to just being a mapping exercise that you'll see during the demo. You don't have to write a single line of code. It's just mapping the columns in your spreadsheet to the data attributes in the integrator objects. So, and the toolkit also handles things that you would otherwise have to worry about around session handles and user IDs and passwords and whatnot. So we've developed this to be very efficient in the way that we utilize SystemLink when we send the request and get the response back. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dan. I just want to say that everything you see today that Dan's going to show you is really part of the toolkit. SystemLink itself is kind of a black hole, if you will, and you kind of have to know how to send the request to it and get the response back. And that's really what the toolkit handles. So everything you can click on, you can see as far as objects here is what you get when you purchase the toolkit. So with that, let me make you presenter, Dan.
Okay.
And you can take it away.
Show my screen. Good afternoon. My name's Dan Miller, and I'm going to give you a demo of the SystemLink Toolkit. We're going to start with a spreadsheet, and imagine a user comes up to you with a spreadsheet and they want to update a couple user fields in the item revision object. To do this with SystemLink, and we want to update everything through SystemLink if we can, because we get good data and we get editing and all that good stuff. So in order to use SystemLink, SystemLink requires a document of XML, and that would look like this. And this doesn't look too user-friendly, I don't think. And in fact, it's worse than it looks because it's case sensitive, and this is only the request for one row. So you would need this for every row of your spreadsheet. And this is what a response looks like. So this is what SystemLink expects to get, a request, and they give you back a response. And this is a real simple object. If we were doing something like a spreadsheet or a complex object like a customer order, it would go on like this. So in order to get that spreadsheet converted to SystemLink and send it to XA, we need some middleware, some software that's going to take what's on our spreadsheet, convert it to XML, and pass it to SystemLink. So the SystemLink Toolkit is that middleware. Now, if we're going to use a spreadsheet, we need to map the spreadsheet to the object and attributes in, let's see, let me get to the right version. We need to map those to the correct object and attributes. So we're going to go into here, and I've already created an object. We have SystemLink Toolkit objects, and these objects contain the mapping. It tells it what object it is and what the attributes are and how they're mapped to the columns. And first thing we need to do is identify the object that we're going to use. The objects have names that we recognize. In this case, we're doing item revision. So we find, item revision. It's right there. This is what over here, COM, Apex, EPDM item revision is what SystemLink calls the item revision. So we select that and it pastes it right into there. Now we need to start mapping the columns of the spreadsheet and to the attributes. And I don't remember what was in A and B and C. So I have previously attached this spreadsheet, just a simple embedded attachment to the toolkit, to this object. And now I'm going to say, I want to go get the column headings. And the column headings are on row 1. I'm going to press this, and if all goes right, oh, look at that. We've imported the column headings from the spreadsheet, and now I want to start mapping the spreadsheet columns, and I'm going to, whoops, too far. Select the first one. I'm going to use quick change, and now you notice that we're set up for auto advance here. So we're going to walk through the columns and map those. So I'm going to look up the attribute site and select it, and we paste it in. Now I'm going to select item, and there's item. I press this to go get the attributes. We always need to identify what it is we're updating. So we map the attributes, key attributes first, and then anything else we want. And now this is a user field. It's called type on the spreadsheet, but this is going to be user field code B. And finally, a switch. User field switch A. So all the attributes from the item revision are there for us. And we've mapped them in. So this is all it takes to map our spreadsheet to our SystemLink Toolkit object. Okay, I'm going to update that. And we'll set up a load setting, which we'll talk about in a second. But now we want to process that spreadsheet. So we're going to find the spreadsheet. Let's see. Oh, I should have had that up. Let's go to here and SystemLink Toolkit and demo. And here's our spreadsheet. And we're going to drag this, copy it into, oh, I just moved, didn't I? Okay. Into this folder, which links up the spreadsheet. And the toolkit says, oh, I got a spreadsheet to process. Let's start processing it. So it converts the spreadsheet to SystemLink and then starts processing the spreadsheet rows. The sequence number here corresponds to the rows. It starts processing these through the toolkit. through SystemLink. And as they're processed, they're marked as processed. If we go into the transaction to the row, we can see what the XML looks like that was generated if you're into XML, and what the response looks like. And we also keep a log of everything that goes on. So when the XML was generated and when the spreadsheet was processed. Now we've processed the spreadsheet. Now we see here on row 13, there was an error. So we can go to the transaction and see what the error is. And it says, we couldn't find, values have not been provided for the revision. Yeah. So we didn't give it a key, enough of a key to find the record, and it showed us a little error to let us know that. So that's how the errors show up, and the users can deal with the errors. The whole concept of the spreadsheet is we want the users to be able to process the spreadsheets and handle the errors and not have it be an IT function. So when there is an error, the user can go to the spreadsheet, change the row, and drag the spreadsheet back into the folder. And the toolkit will automatically process, pick up the spreadsheet. It'll say rows 3 through 12 are already processed. So I don't need to, I can skip those and I'll go back and try 13 again. And each spreadsheet we process then shows up as a group, we call it. So these are different spreadsheets that have gone through. We do some batch processing also. So all our transactions, all our groups go through these group processes. Now, you may have seen I got an email that popped up when I was doing that. So if there is an error, we can have an email sent to either the user or a group that generated the spreadsheet. So I'm going to go into the and click this link, and the group will come up automatically in NetLink, and I can go look at the error in NetLink. Okay. Now we have some extra things we can do with the spreadsheet besides just map the columns. Well, first of all, we don't need to map every column that's on the spreadsheet. We just need to map those columns that we're going to pass to SystemLink. We can also set up conversion tables so that what appears on the spreadsheet we can convert to what SystemLink wants. So if we have a column that needs a yes or no response, what SystemLink wants is a Boolean value, a 1 or a 0. So we can say, if the user keys in the word yes on the spreadsheet, we'll convert that to 1 and pass it to SystemLink. And if they say no, we'll convert it to 0. We can also convert customer order types, convert CO to a 1 and CM to a 4. We could even convert if we're doing a conversion, we might convert a customer number in the system where it came from to a new customer number in the new system. So we have that functionality. The other thing we can do is we can set up phantom columns. Well, first of all, we can set up defaults. So if our site is always 0, 0, 0, we can make that a default so the user doesn't have to key it in. It would default to 0, 0, 0. So column A, if it was blank, would default to 0, 0, 0. But what if we don't even want to put the site on the spreadsheet? We just want to have it automatically populated. So we can set up a phantom column. We just give that a number and pick site and then put in the default here, and then the site will always be populated as 0, 0, 0 when it's sent to SystemLink, but the user won't even see it on the spreadsheet. We also have a whole series of special values that can be populated as the default, things like today's date or the user that sent this through, or the administrative division if you're using IFM. Okay, so with customers that use this spreadsheet functionality typically use the spreadsheet in one of 3 ways. They will either set up a predefined spreadsheet for a user and give that spreadsheet to the user and just tell the user, okay, every time you want to use this functionality, populate the columns in the spreadsheet. Don't move it around, but populate it where it is and drag your spreadsheet over and it will automatically process it. We also find customers wind up doing a lot of one-offs. So a user comes to you with price changes or some year-end account numbers they want to change, and you get those all the time in IT. Can you just whip this up for me and change this for me? And because this is so easy to map, we can whip that off and do it for them as a one-off. The other thing that the toolkit is really handy for is conversion. So if you buy a company and you need to incorporate their data into XA, you need to add them to your company, we can pull the data off using a spreadsheet from their package and then map it into XA. We can use the conversion tables to convert values from their system to your system and map it all in using spreadsheets to bring up your new company. And we have at least one of our customers that does a lot of this. They are converting all the time, and they find this really handy. No matter what system they're coming from, they can map it into their system and get their customer into XA. Okay. Now, we can do simple objects like item revisions or base prices or like that. We can also do complex objects that have header and detail relationships. So those would be like customer orders and bills of material, purchase orders, all that stuff. So that's handy. Now, the one piece I didn't show you is once we set up an object, we also then come over and set up a load setting. And in the load setting, we identify what object it is we're updating. The SystemLink Toolkit item revision. But before that, we have up here things like what queue we're going to send this spreadsheet to. So if you have an accounting department that's sending through these monster spreadsheets and tying everyone else up, we can easily create a new queue. We just go into PowerLink into our queues object and create it, and we can then designate that this spreadsheet from now on will go to this queue and leave the main queues available for everyone else. We can do control how the group is processed. A record by record process would be atomic, one at a time, but we can also do transaction processing, which says the whole group has to pass or none of the group does. So if we're creating a customer order, we don't want to create an order that has 5 lines and have one of the lines fail and have that order sitting out there with a missing line. So we can do transaction processing for a group that represents an order, and it will only go through if everything goes through successfully. We can set up owners, which lets us segregate the groups that we see. So an owner is like a department. And if I go back to here, oops. And here we've set up using a workspace, which is a standard PowerLink function. I've set up a grouping for engineering, and we only see the engineer groups. We don't see accounting groups or sales groups or purchasing groups. So that lets us take our central object that tracks everything that goes through and just segregate out a certain subset for that group. Let's see, where was I? Oh, we were looking at load settings. So here we can, for one worksheet, we could have one object that we're mapping to or multiple objects. If we're doing item revisions, we might want to map to the enterprise object and then the item revision object. And if we're doing customer order, we need a customer order header, customer line items, IFM transactions, we have a header and our charge record, let's say. So this is all mapped here. Now, we've identified the object that the spreadsheet's going to process as. We also can specify an action, and the action can be add, change, and delete standard actions. And this upsert is one that's really popular. We introduced this a while back. An upsert says, if the record does not exist, create it. If it does exist, update it. So that makes it handy. So we use the load setting then to control how that spreadsheet's processed. The object maps the domain class and the attributes, and the loads lets us control how that's processed. Here we have the queues. This is everything that goes through the toolkit goes through, well, most everything in a batch mode. And these queues let us segregate, control how transit groups go through. Now, we have a group here, a queue here that has 5 monitors. What that says is that this queue can handle 5 groups at a time. So if SystemLink isn't as fast as offline load, but what we can do to catch up and get to the same speed as offline load is we can process multiple transactions at the same time. While we're here, the toolkit, SystemLink Toolkit and SystemLink and the toolkit can, besides just updating objects, it can do transactions. I've kind of set up a subset here of inventory transactions. We can do all the inventory transactions from a spreadsheet, and we don't have to deal with off-tran or TR data. These just go through SystemLink and are processed that way. We can also do host jobs. We can do things like cancel an order. I just had somebody ask about canceling an MO. What were they canceling? I forget. A purchase order, I think. And we went in here and said, oh yeah, you can do that. Yeah. So, and we can also do host jobs and host reports. Oh, yeah, back on the load setting. We can also, this may not be obvious, but we can process the SystemLink group as the user that actually created the group. So whoever dragged that spreadsheet into that folder, that's the, by clicking this, we can say that's the user that processes that spreadsheet, that processes SystemLink. So what that means is when you look at the item revision record and you see the change user, it'll be whoever drug that spreadsheet into the folder, not some service profile, but the actual user that did it. We track everything. So we track what goes into the queue, when it went into the queue, when it was processed, how long it took to process. If the group was resubmitted, we track that, and we even keep metrics on transactions, so we can see by day. You can see if you got if your month end is really backing you up. We can see how many an hour. Typically you find like about 4 o'clock everything starts going through. Yeah, everyone's like, I better get this done today. Yeah, and we can track by day when it went through. And we have customers that use the data that we use to transaction to monitor how long processes are taking, and if they're starting to slow down or if they need some more horsepower. Have one customer that when his manager comes to him and says, is this toolkit worth it? You know, he goes into these charts and shows him that, and he's impressed. Now, what we find is typically a customer has 1 or 2 things in mind that they want to use a toolkit for, and they get it in and see how easy it is to use, and they wind up with 30 or 40 objects mapped that they're using to interface to SystemLink with. Now, in IT, we always develop things in test and then move them to production. So in the toolkit, we have this definitions object, and this has everything you can set up in the toolkit. So it has objects and loads, it has conversion tables, it has owners and players, contacts. Anything you can set up is in here. And we can pick some of these and export them. We have a host job. We export to a save file, and then we can take this to the production environment and import these into the production environment. So we can take this save file and use it to go from one environment to the other, or if you're working multiple partitions, we can take that save file to your other partition and import them, the definitions in there. We have documentation for the toolkit. We have a user's guide here, keeps growing and growing. And we have not only specifications for you in here, but examples of how to do stuff and how to walk the different steps you go through to set up a spreadsheet. We have samples. I've been working with demos here. We include these with the toolkit. So when you, there'll be an example here of how to update an item revision, how to create a purchase order, how to create a customer order. Yeah, these are, I have a subset on demos, but we actually have all this stuff. We're doing a lot of development, so we have a lot of objects out there that are mapped. We have support. You just send us an email and we're real quick at getting back to you. And we have on-continent support. So we're, the support comes from the US. You don't have to send a note to somebody over in Germany and hope you get it back the next day. And in here, sometimes you get over here and you're like, what does atomic mean? Well, we can press this button here and a little window will pop up and give us an explanation of what atomic means. So we have a lot of explain buttons here that you can use to get information about what the different options represent. And we have a, the toolkit is we have over 60 accounts right now. So we have a lot of experience with those users. If a user runs into something that they'd like to have, we can develop that. And with 60 accounts, you can imagine that we've had a lot of suggestions over the years. So we have a lot of options in the toolkit. I always tell people when I'm training them on the toolkit is if there's something you want to do and you're not sure if the toolkit does it, please ask us, because 99% of the time that's already in the toolkit and we can do it and just point you in that direction. The toolkit's been around for over 12 years. That doesn't mean the code's 12 years old, because we've been developing all through those 12 years. So we have new features all the time, and this is a stable product. We've worked out a lot of things that you might run into, and it's pretty easy to use and manage. Let's see, I'm going to go over a couple things here. The installation of the toolkit is a one time. So we install some green screen objects and import some integrator objects. And because everything is PowerLink based, all your users now have access to the toolkit. We don't have to go around to each user and install software. We install it once in integrator and it's available to everybody. We have, for existing users, you know, we have a lot of customers that really depend on the toolkit, and then when your license runs out, that can be an issue. So we have incorporated into the toolkit a license expiration warning message, and it's tailorable. So you can decide how early you want to start seeing the message and who sees the message. You might not want all your users to know that the license is about to expire, but you might want to know. We are working more and more. I have a consultant, Claire, that's got me developing more and more things to support finance. So we include things in the toolkit like objects for GL rules, so you can from a spreadsheet populate OEI, ACC, your general ledger rules. We support LSB transactions. We're working a lot with entity creation right now. So when you go to FN, we can have objects that'll create from your customers and from your vendors entities. And we've incorporated things like account formatting, so you can easily take, if your account has 3 segments, you can take 3 rows and form them into an account with the appropriate separator to send to FN, Enterprise Financials. Now, everything we've been looking at so far is spreadsheet based, but we also do, let me get here. That's not the right one. Demo. Oh, I'm in load settings, no wonder. We also support batch type processing. So in batch type processing, you may get a feed from EDI and you want to not upload that to a spreadsheet. You want to just send that in a batch mode to SystemLink. We call that batch type processing because it doesn't involve a spreadsheet. It's actually where the SystemLink Toolkit got started. So for you existing users, if you've used this functionality, you know, in order to use it, we need to create a file to contain the data that we're going to send to SystemLink, a file that takes the place of the spreadsheet. And then we need an XML generation program that generates the XML for that object. So we're going to go here, and in the latest version of the toolkit, we can go into the object that we traditionally create, and we can assign an XML generation program name and a file name, SLTK92R, SLTK9AD, some field names, and then we can go into the attributes while we select the item revision domain class, just like we did for the spreadsheet. And we go into the attributes and we assign field names to those fields that we want to update or create. Yeah. So we just assign, go in, click the pencil or quick change and just key in a field name. We assign all the field names. Then we go here and say generate source. And we can generate the source in either DDL or DDS format. We can do free format RPG if we want. So we generate the source and we go over to the source, then gets populated automatically And let's see, SLTK 929AD. We just generated this DDS for this file, and we generated the XML generation program automatically. And you may look at this and say, that doesn't look like RPG. Yeah. Well, we use, in the toolkit, we provide a service program that gives us procedures that make it easy to generate XML. This XML property generates the XML for property statements for the item and revision and site. And in the prior version, you know, you created this program yourself. It was pretty easy to do, but in this version, you don't even have to do that. It generates it for you. So let's see, I think that is about all I wanted to cover. We have some time left over. We want to throw it out to the users.
Yeah, this is we've got a manageable group today, so I'm going to unmute everybody. And so that if you have any questions or thoughts, feel free to express those today. So everybody should be unmuted. Yeah. Any questions for Dan or Randy?
Must have answered them all.
Okay.
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a couple things I should say. Yeah, there's a lot we covered today. That just gives you a feel. If you think of something that you want to ask, you can shoot me a line, dmiller@guidetechnologies.com. And the other thing is, if you're an existing customer and see new features in here that you'd like to have, shoot me a note, and I can package you up an upgrade package, and make it available to you so you can upgrade your system to the latest version. Yep. The upgrade process is really, really easy. So you might as well take advantage of that and get all the features we offer.
Yeah, and for new customers, we do, recommend 3 days of training. Someone like Dan coming on site, or we've even done it remotely due to COVID and everything. But and during those days, there's not just training, but we actually would work with you on a project that you have, a SystemLink project, and try to, very hands-on, get you something that you can implement in production right away, to really show the benefit in short order.
Hey, Dan, this is Candy at Meridian.
Yes. Hi,
You
Candy.
mentioned, hi, you mentioned something about GL rules and legacy bridge.
Yes.
Going through the toolkit. Is that going through same edits as green screen? I mean, how does that work?
The
You got
GL
my
rules.
curiosity with that one.
Yeah, with the GL rules, we edit as much as we can, and the LSB we don't edit at all, because once you post that to IFM, then it gets edited there. But with EFIN, the IFM transactions are available in PowerLink, and if we interface to those, then all the editing takes place that would take place in PowerLink by Infor.
Oh, so you need EFIN for this?
No. So, so if you're posting the IFM transactions, if you don't have EFIN, you can do it with the LSB transactions. But if you do have EFIN, you don't need LSB transactions. You can post directly
Okay, I'll get with you because I don't have that, what you showed on the screen.
The LSB.
Yes.
Yeah, I can. I'll make a note here. Yeah, we can get together, but also send you. We have a chapter in the documentation that tells how to set that up and use it. Yeah, we're finding the toolkit was really useful before EFIN, and now that EFIN's out, we're using it find even more uses for it. Yeah.
Any other questions for Dan or Randy? Okay, well, thank you everybody for your time and attention. Everybody that's registered will receive an email with a link to this recording sometime next week. And we have already starting to lay out our webinar schedule for 2022, which sounds a little scary. And so look forward to some invitations to upcoming webinars for starting in January of next year. Thank you very much, and we'll close down the webinar.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Randy.
Thanks.